What is going on, YouTube? PPS back. It is past the prop. It is NFL time now. We're coming at you guys for week 14. Um, Last week of buys. It's fantasy football right before the fantasy football playoffs coming at you guys. So obviously big weeks around the NFL and in all leagues here. Joined as always by my guy Stu. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. We have a good week of football coming up. No Commanders game, so not a great week of football, but it should be a good week of football. I see you got the Packers hat on. I'm maybe talking about some of that a little bit later. But yeah, exciting week. Playoffs are coming pretty soon, and I'm ready to keep these bets going.
Yeah, so actually I'm wearing it because it's the first real big snow of the year for us here. Packers are on bye as well, so both our teams are not going to be on the cards this week. So yeah, it's going to be weird not having a Packer game on the schedule.
Yeah, no, you got snow right now. For me, 50 degrees and sunny over here, nice in Virginia right now. So, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, I think we got about four inches, I think, so far, and that's just from this morning starting. So looking outside right now, it's kind of in that shitty sleet type of weather, which is like the worst there can be. So yeah, hopefully weather isn't affecting too many football games this weekend. But had to get on here after the Brazil game. Obviously, that was a crazy match. So make sure that we popped on after that because it was pretty crazy.
Yeah, no, that's what I put in my tweet too when I sent it out. I was like, very convenient, that we have to follow this, obviously, but very exciting game. Glad we didn't have to try to drag anyone away from their TVs. We could all watch it, have a moment to chill out, appreciate Croatia moving through, and then keep it moving. Now it's NFL time. So it worked out very well for us today.
Yeah, no, for sure. So we're going to get into all of the games here today. Before we get started, if you could smash that like button for us, guys, we appreciate it. 15 of you guys in here already in the first 3 minutes. It's awesome to see you guys joining us, on whether it's over your lunch break or if you got the day off. Appreciate you guys joining us. Let's kind of talk a little bit about the game last night. Did you watch the game last night?
Yeah, I watched parts of it. I watched, I wasn't fully engaged the whole time. Probably got home an hour into it, but it was good enough. Baker Mayfield came back at the very end and won, but for the first three quarters, I would say a rather uneventful game. I mean, the Raiders, you could just tell they were like, "Oh, we won this game. We won. It's over." And then it wasn't over. They did not win. A very Raiders way to lose a football game, right? I mean, if you're a Raiders fan, you're probably used to this kind of stuff right now. So. Yeah, very ugly. You watch it or no?
A little bit. I watched the ending. Didn't watch much of the middle stuff because it just kind of looked boring. Because the Raiders are one of those teams that when they're winning, they're just gonna run the ball straight into the back of that front center there and hope something good happens. And then Jacobs obviously gets hurt, and that whole offense went to shit. So I played Derek Carr in a league that I needed to win to go to the fantasy playoffs. So obviously that's a good way to start with like a 2-pointer. So that was good. I have Josh Allen, so I should win that matchup pretty handily this week. But do you have any fantasy stuff going into this week? Are you completely out? Are you all the way in, or what?
Yeah, I'm still alive in like some friends leagues. I don't play too much fantasy football anymore because I don't have time, right? We're doing all this stuff. Like I could have won in my home league like 2 weeks ago, but I forgot to put Chris Godwin in the starting lineup and I had injured Rondell Moore score 0 points and I lost by, whatever, like 5 points. So that's life. I forget to set the lineups, but I've got a team or two still live this week.
Yeah, no, this obviously is the last week before the playoffs, so it's exciting. I got my one friends league that's a pretty big one, so that one is the one I played Carr. So 2 out of 3 hopefully should be in the playoffs. But like I said, I always tell you guys I do more best ball than I do fantasy leagues for sure. Just feel like then I don't have to pay attention as much. You just check every Tuesday, see how you did, and then guess what? Best players go in there. So it is very, very nice and very easy. So looking at the games this week, there's some pretty big spreads, right? We got the 10-point spread in the Bills game, the 17-point spread in the Cowboys game. First one we've seen like that in a while. But then a lot of very close ones, mostly around that 3 to 5 range, some of them even closer. as we always do, we'll do our big screen and then our laptop game. This is going to be awesome because I don't have to hear you bring up a game. So what do we got here?
I mean, it's got to be Vikings-Lions, right? We've got to have that offensive masterpiece up on the big screen because I'm anticipating like no defense is being played in that game whatsoever. And then even during the 1 o'clock slate, if you want to do it, you can kind of have the perfect combo. You can have that, and then you can have the laptop game with, the Bills and the Jets, and you can see, can the Jets hold another team to like 10 points? Like they actually managed to beat the Bills last time. I'm definitely interested to see how that one plays out. It feels like it's really hard for a team, no matter what, to beat any team in conference twice during the season. But it does feel like the Jets are the kind of team that, can slow the game down, muck it up. And now that Zach Wilson isn't under center anymore, they can at least move the ball a little bit on offense. So I think it'll be nice to have the big TV, all that offense, Lions, Vikings. Then, you check the laptop out and you just see Sauce Gardner tackle someone 5 seconds before the ball even touches the receiver's hands.
Yeah, no, if you could bet penalties, that would be definitely where I'd be going in that one. But outside of the late game, I think both of us would agree that the Chargers-Dolphins is probably the best game of the day. So outside of the late game, I kind of like the 325 slate because I get to watch the GOAT, Geno, 3-point favorite at home, facing off against Carolina. I got Dante Foreman in like every single league, so that'll be one I would like to have on my laptop there. And then I want to watch Tampa versus San Francisco. I want to see the narrative of Brady. I think is 8-0 against quarterbacks starting their first game. You got Purdy out there. We'll see how that goes. But also this defense of San Francisco facing off against Brady. Obviously, it didn't go well early on in the season. But now we got Brady having to face off against him again. Tough matchup. I'm very, very pumped to see how he does against them. I know they played last year. I don't recall how that one went off the top of my head, but this defense is legit, and we've seen it. And they won a game with Brock Purdy starting, or coming in. But I'm curious to see how that one will go.
Yeah, the Brock Purdy Bowl, man. I'm excited for that one too. I think all eyes, even though Tom Brady's going to be in this game, because too, a lot of people the Tom Brady to San Francisco pipeline has been a thing that's talked about for a while. And even still, some San Francisco people are saying it could even happen this offseason as well, especially if Tampa kind of flames out this year. So I think that'll be interesting. But I agree, all eyes should be on Purdy. Can he keep this team going? We saw Baker Mayfield save the Rams. He could have been the 49ers savior, but looks like it didn't work out that way. And now Purdy's going to have to – we're going to see what we have, right? He came in randomly. Now teams are going to actually have a week to prepare a defense, especially for him. That's going to be tough, especially when it's a good Tampa Bay defense. That could be a game that's like 13-10 by the end of it, honestly.
Yeah, I almost was like thinking that would be how low the total was, but 37 for an NFL game is pretty damn low. So I'm expecting very slow, methodical drives. I mean, not to trash talk Jimmy G because he's made me a lot of money, but I mean, what does he really do in that offense anyway? Like he's not. I mean, anybody I feel like that's a capable NFL quarterback can run that offense with the weapons that they have, the offensive line that they have, and even the running game now with McCaffrey. Dude, I feel like if you're going to run an offense, this would be the one that you'd want to run because you just don't have as much on your plate as if someone from where the quarterback has to do most of the work, that be on your plate there. So I feel like this one's, if there's an injury in a play that you have to go into, I feel like that's definitely a spot that you would pick to have it happen.
Yeah, I'm a Jimmy G defender, but I'll definitely agree. That system is set up to win with or without a quarterback. The quarterback just kind of needs to take them along for the journey and not turn the ball over. So kind of what you said a minute ago, we know that Jimmy G is at least an average NFL quarterback, and that's what he provides to this team. We have no clue if Purdy can even get to that level, right? He could be a well below average NFL quarterback, and that's when, turnovers, kind of not hitting those easy checkdowns or missing guys by 20 yards out of bounds, which we saw a couple times from Purdy. That's when things can start to get a little bit crazy. So it'll be interesting. I'm excited to see how they do with him. He's fired up. I got some Heineke vibes. I don't know if you saw that after the touchdown. He was real fired up, like had everyone going. I like the extreme celebrations. That always gets the blood going.
Yeah, we'll see how far that lasts when he gets punched in the mouth by an actual defense here. So let's take a look at the chat, and then we will get on into it today. We got Tim in here. Appreciate you. First comment of the day. We appreciate you, Steve. Jason, awesome to see you guys in here. Turbo bringing up the flag. Reason why is I can't put the Bucks flag up there because I put these two up and they choked this year. I ain't putting it up and putting that on the Bucks. The Bucks are number one. They're gonna run through that East. It's not gonna be too much of an issue, hopefully. So got to keep that down. I'm not gonna be that guy to just for myself. I'm being unselfish to help out the Bucks, dude. That's what I got to do. And if that's what I have to do, I'll do it. I'll sacrifice that for the greater good of Wisconsin here for sure.
Can I also say too that my flag, my beautiful background addition to my set, has actually been a good luck charm. And despite the fact that nobody can ever see it because my head's kind of in the way, we've been really good since I got that. So you need to keep your sign up, and I'm going to keep mine, or you need to keep yours down. I'm going to keep mine up for the rest of the year. That's good thinking right there.
Yeah, hey, I gotta do what I gotta do. I gotta, even if it's a sacrifice I need to make, I will do it for the greater good of Wisconsin having to deal with the Badgers sucking now. But I am very happy with the Fickle hire. Hopefully he works out well for us this next year. So, all right, all that stuff's out of the way. I got all of our games picked out. You got a play I would never have guessed. I like this guy, have him in almost every single best ball league because, tight end is such a shitty position. But I'll kick it over to you to start us off with a half unit spot.
Yeah, plus 110 too. I might have missent you the text. Plus 110 over on MGM. Gotta love the live editing right here. But yeah, this is your guy. I feel like Pass the Prop has been the most pro Daniel Bellinger show there is in the country right now. This is a guy that we've been talking about, like you said, since week one, even when he was kind of irrelevant, just because we pointed out they have no tight ends. Like, they have absolutely no tight ends on the roster. So despite the fact that this is like a rookie that did not have any draft capital attached to him whatsoever, he's actually had a pretty good season so far. He's hit this in 4 of 7 games so far, but obviously one of his misses was the first game of the year, his first ever NFL game. We've seen him ease more and more as the season went on. He returned from injury last week as well, where he saw 5 targets, 5 catches. That was obviously very good to see it. One more thing right here, too. The line value, before we even talk about Bellinger, I think it's really good. Plus 110 right here on MGM. It's minus 132 on Caesar Sportsbook, which is widely considered to be the sharpest American book right now. So I do think this is a number that's going to close minus 130, minus 140. So to get this plus 110, even before we talk about Bellinger, I think is a great spot. But we're going to just do something that we've really done all the time this year. And we're going to target the Eagles in the slot over the middle of the field because we know how much they funnel passes over the middle. They have an absolutely elite secondary right now. Darius Slay on the outside, Bradbury on the other side. It is very, very hard to punish this team on the outside, right? And Slane's been really good this year. Slane, besides the fact that I do believe he leads the league in drop catch rate or whatever this season, he's really been very, very good. He stepped up for this team when nobody expected it to be. The problem, he has an extremely tough matchup. He is definitely not used to getting that kind of attention, considering he's been a wide receiver 3 for most of his career. So he has a tough matchup on the outside. Who's even going to be running on the other side? Is it going to be Hodgkins? Is that his name? Or Isaiah?
Hodgins, I think.
Hodgins. Yeah, they're literally running out practice squad guys as their other outside wide receiver. I just think that's going to open up even more opportunities. Additionally, Bellinger will be out there in run blocking and run, protection in general. He is one of their better blockers on the team, which just means he's going to be out there more. He's not one of those tight ends like Mike Gesicki who literally can't block and has to be taken off the field. I think the Giants are going to have a very run-heavy game plan this week. I think Bellinger's going to be involved. But we have to remember this is a top 10 team in play action so far this season, which means they're obviously faking the run. They're keeping the defenses honest with those RPOs. Bellinger should be a huge part of that. I just think this is a great price right here, a good young tight end that isn't being valued. And it's doing something we've done all year long. It's targeted the Eagles over the middle of the field. It's worked very well so far. I think we're going to keep it going today.
Yeah, I love it. Like I said, like you said, I talk about this guy a lot. I love this guy. I like what he brings to the table. I know he had a pretty gruesome eye injury, so hopefully everything is back from that. But at least it wasn't like a knee or it wasn't anything like that, right? He's able to go right back out there and compete right away. So that's always good to see that he is ready to roll again there. But yeah, I'm actually going to be heading to the game that you talked about as your favorite one of the week, and that's going to be the Lions game. I'm going to head to Dalvin Cook over 94.5 rushing receiving. If you do have Bet Rivers, it's at 92.5. I just know that that's not really one that a lot of people use. So this is DraftKings and FanDuel spots at the 94. And I absolutely love the spot. Absolutely love Dalvin Cook here. Just I'm not a huge head-to-head, but when it's a division rival like this and you play a lot, his last or 7 career games against Detroit, he's averaging 104 rushing yards per game, 18 receiving yards. Obviously, he hasn't really been as involved in the receiving game as of late. The targets have been there, right? He's cleared 5 targets in 4 of his last 6 games, but he's just not really been able to turn it into anything yet, right? We've seen negative 3 yards last week. We've seen a 9-yard performance, but the targets have been there. And when they're down, I think that the spread is obviously the most talked about spread of probably of the year, with the 4-win Lions or 5-win Lions being a 2-point favorite at home. But we know the Lions are very good at home. They score at home, and they're actually pretty susceptible to the running game, right? We look at the Lions, they're the 7th worst in terms of runs per or yards per attempt on the ground here. Delvin has been the workhorse here. Obviously, everybody's looking at last week where Alexander Mattison kind of stole and vultured that touchdown, but truly he's the workhorse of this backfield, right? We've seen 20 plus carries in the last 2 games, and those are against pretty stout defenses in the Jets and the New England Patriots. Now we get to face off against Detroit, where he ran for only 17 times for 96 yards just rushing. I think this Lions team has gotten better. I think that means we're going to maybe see a little bit more of the passing work go to Dalvin Cook, because it's not like he comes off on 3rd down always, right? It's not like he's always just a 2-down back like a Derrick Henry or anything like that. Dalvin Cook has the ability to make the catches. They run screens for him. Obviously, a lot of attention needs to go out to Justin Jefferson, right? Hawkinson is still there. So it's not like it's like Henry, where you put 8 guys in the box and you have the ability just to stop the run. You can't really do that here. According to Pro Football Focus, it's the 2nd best run block advantage of the week, with Minnesota facing off against the Detroit line. I think Delvin just is going to have a day. I think he's going to have to, especially in a game like this where the Lions are surging and at home.
I love this spot. I absolutely love this spot. I'm very glad to see you're on it. I was 100% considering Cook right here for this game as well. A lot of people, I think they get a little bit like, we talk about attacking the Lions through the air a lot, right? We talk about how susceptible they are to being beat through the air, right? So I think that leads a lot of people to assuming maybe their rush defense is good. In reality, their rush defense and pass defense are really both bottom 5 rated, almost every advanced metric you look at. And if anything, just through what I've seen through tape over these last couple of weeks, it actually looks like the secondary is now playing a little bit better. They're looking, they're making midseason improvements, got a lot of young guys as well. So I completely agree. It's not one of those things where teams just can't run on them, so they pass on them. They just choose to pass on them because it's been so easy. But also, we have to remember they are incredibly easy to run on. I think they're going to set the pace. I agree with you. I think Cook's going to get plenty of carries. I'm seeing probably 18, 19 opportunities right here. And then that 5 targets mark should be very good. The only thing concerns me is the receiving has just been it's kind of ugly recently. Like you said, I don't know. But Madison's not coming out. I was betting on Madison a decent amount in the beginning of the season because he was so much more involved. As these games have gotten more important, we've seen less Madison, like you said, besides that vulture, but the snaps still aren't there. So I like Cook a lot this week. I just hopefully he can snag in those catches for some positive yards this time.
Yeah, it's just, again, we talked about in NBA, right? The last 5 games are very, very tough matchups, and they got absolutely destroyed by the Cowboys, right? 40-3, still ended up with 72 yards, but you played the Bills. He did very well against the Bills, but he had that 81-yard run. Washington, obviously, we talk about how you can't run on them. He still had 17 carries. So he had 17 carries and wasn't doing anything with them, but they obviously still tried to do it, right? And then you have the Jets in New England, right? That's 5 straight games where it's very tough to run on, and you're just down by a shit ton, right, in a lot of these games. So I like the rushing. I just know that with this spread being as weird as it is, I'd rather take rushing receiving just in case, because you know what happens when Kirk gets under any sort of pressure. Dump off galore here. So hopefully that's the case. And obviously you still got to worry about Jefferson on the outside. So sign me up. Dalvin Cook should hopefully have a nice game here, facing off against the lowly Lions defense. They're just shootout every single week, right? They're like the top total every single week. I love that. I love that, especially as an Amon-Ra St. Brown fantasy owner, as I know you are too.
I was gonna say he's really been keeping us going recently, and honestly, I don't know about you. For me, he was definitely in consideration for the show, and he probably he has a good shot of making my card some way or another this week, just because he's been so good. And yeah,
He'll be on the card for sure.
Hell yeah,
you kind of have to at this point, dude. Just getting so much volume, and that Jameson Williams news really brought his stuff down. Right, it brought it down for like a couple, like the hour before the game. Like I started seeing the stuff fluctuate. I'm like, what the hell, dude? They're, like, you think this guy's going to come in and get 10 targets, bro? No chance. No chance. Let's take a look at some questions here. Again, if you guys do have any, drop them in the chat. We appreciate you guys, as always. We have MSA bringing another quarterback question for us. In that same game, Goff 269.5 or Cousins 275.5. I think both are very good options, but I'd probably lean Goff just because, obviously, I've been talking about how much I want Dalvin Cook to obviously be involved in this game. It's really just pick who you think is going to win this game. I truly don't know. This line really scares me off a little bit. But the Vikings, like I said, they're winning close games, but they're a bend, don't break defense. Yards will be there. I won't be taking too many touchdown props coming on the Detroit side just because the Vikings have been pretty good in the red zone. But they give up a lot of yards. Everything from the 20 to the 20 has been free reign for everybody. So I like both, but if I had to pick one, I'd probably lean Goff.
I agree. I like Goff too, honestly. I think he's in a pretty good spot to rack up those yards, especially with how we've been seeing Swift play recently, but through the air mostly, right? Swift's been getting a lot of his work in that pass catching role. So I like Goff a little bit more as well. Although for me, he normally is a completions guy, not a yards guy, just because of all those checkdowns we get.
For sure. I love taking Goff completions there for sure. Mark, thank you. Appreciate it. Hopefully you guys did already. If you haven't, Ryan grabbing Dalvin Cook already at 70.5 rushing. That's a great line. I think it's like 72.5 now.
75 is the best price. Yeah.
Damn. Okay. Yeah. Good spot. Always happy to beat the closing line value for sure. And let's head over to a game we talked about a little bit here already. I'll kick this one to you with you talking about Bellinger here. Is this more of a spot where you're doing passing, pass rushing, nothing, going under? Where are you thinking with Jalen Hurts in this pretty big divisional game?
Yeah, so those first couple of weeks, I was on Hurts almost every week. Hurts was on my card every single week. Since then, I've been 0 for 2 on betting his overs, and I don't know why. Maybe this is a strategic decision to keep his health in check for the playoffs, considering they're obviously going to be in a good position come playoff time. But the design runs have not been there, right? He was lapping the rest of the league in design runs. Like he was like 2 times as many as Fields, 3 times as many as Lamar. Like he was lapping them in design runs. We've really just seen that kind of fall down more and more as the season went on, whether that's matchup, whether that's game script, them just beating people up pretty bad. So I can't really trust Hurts rushing right now. I don't know about you. I know it's always a possibility that he'll pop off, but I need to see it. I think for me personally, I'm waiting till more important games, waiting till playoff season to really see that, I guess. But I do like the passing yards. I think that should be a better look right there. The Giants definitely can be beaten through the air.
Beautiful. And let's take a look here. I'm seeing if we have any overlaps with the game. All right. Last one before we get to our second round of plays here. I will be probably on Derrick Henry everything this week. I mean, you kind of have to while they're playing the Jaguars. I don't know what it is. The dude just gets 40 carries every time he plays the Jags. And, I mean, we just saw last week what this Jaguars defense was able to do against this Lions team. They got shredded everywhere. So I would be if Treylon Burks is out, which I'm pretty sure he's still in concussion protocol. If he's out, I really don't know what they're going to do besides just give King Henry 25 plus.
Yeah, for me, the problem is the Jaguars' pass defense is like ungodly bad. It's like really, really bad. Like the Lions came out last week, and even though they could run the ball, they were like, let's just throw all over them. Like they rarely came out. They had a positive pass rate over expectation. I believe it tied their season high last week. It just showed they came out and just started gunslinging because you can do that on the Jags. The problem is, no Burks. Who's Tannehill going to throw it to? Is it Westbrook Akine? Like if Burks plays, then maybe I should bet him. Just you can torch them through the air. They're a much, much better run defense. But like you said, if he's going to carry the ball 25 times, I don't know how you could take the under right here. And I don't know how these receivers that they have can compile 200 passing yards for Tannehill. So it's a bit of a tricky spot for me.
Dude, like I said, if Treylon Burks is out, what's that tight end name? Akagwu or something like that?
Yeah.
How do you say it?
I'm not a professional.
You know who I'm talking about, though, right?
Yeah.
That dude's their leading receiver the last 2 weeks. It's gross. Like that receiver room is absolutely gross. And they just fired their GM and stuff too. So it's kind of all over the place there. And one thing you do know, Derrick Henry's going to touch the ball. And if we think that game script's going the way we think it's going to, I think it's going to be a rough day for that front seven for Jacksonville. All righty. We will get to the rest of your questions. We appreciate all you guys dropping those in there. We'll get to those in a moment. But we're going to head over to plays number 3 and 4 here. 2 quarterbacks on the docket here. Let's send it over to you here.
Tyler Huntley, over 41.5 rushing yards right here. I love this guy. Tyler Huntley's great. Whenever he comes in and start, he's always reliable to do 2 things. He's going to run the ball, and he's going to only throw it to Mark Andrews. Like, I don't know if you want to go through and look back to last year, it was actually kind of insane. And I believe they had Hollywood healthy, at least during a couple of those games last season. This guy is going to run, he's going to hand the ball off, and he's going to throw it over the middle to Mark Andrews. Those are his 3 plays. And he's actually pretty good at it. The Ravens are one of the few teams that has a backup quarterback that is just a budget version of their starting quarterback. Like, Huntley is going to do all the same things that they want Lamar Jackson to do. He'll just do them slightly worse, which, to be honest, is great, right? I mean, I think that's an undervalued asset to have someone that can run your same offense, make sure your O-line doesn't have to undergo any crazy adjustments, new blocking schemes. Your wide receivers can continue to run the routes they're comfortable with. I just think this is a situation where Huntley is set up to come in and succeed immediately. And I think this is a pretty good matchup right here. The Steelers' rush defense is pretty good, but that's also one of the reasons why I like this, because being a traditionally good rush defense is definitely different than stopping a mobile quarterback, right? It's a completely different element. I think guys like Kenyon Drake, guys like Gus Edwards, all these guys are going to struggle a lot, right? TJ Watt being in, he brought this team from 25th ranked DVOA rush defense to 7th. I mean, this is one guy and the impact he has, especially on that rush defense. I think it's going to be incredibly hard for that group of, slow 30-year-old running backs to move the ball much, which, I mean, I think it's going to be more responsibility for Huntley in the running game. And we saw last week, I believe he ended with 41 rush yards. He obviously didn't have the full game. Lamar Jackson started that. And then when we look at last season, right, what did he do last year? He had 4 starts. One of them was against Pittsburgh, 12 rush attempts for 72 rush yards in that one. The other 3 games, 54 rush yards, 73, and 40 rush yards. So over 40 in all of them, over this number in 3 of 4, and then crushed this number against the Steelers last year, going over 70. I just think this is one of those spots where he's going to be forced to run whether he likes it or not, whether they're trailing or whether they're, leading. I think he's going to have those designed runs, but if they're behind, he's going to have those scrambles. He's going to have to get out of the pocket. This is a good defensive line they're going against. I just think Huntley's going to run the ball. I know this may seem like a high number for a backup quarterback. He's shown he can come in and do it in the past. They're just going to run the budget Lamar Jackson offense. So I think this is a good line right here. Definitely one of my favorite spots this week.
Yeah, this ain't his first rodeo either. It's not like this is him getting thrown into this and he has no idea what he's doing. Like, everybody is kind of thinking like that Trace McSorley. Remember when he played those couple of weeks and he came in mid-game and just looked like absolute trash? But then that next week, he started the game and it wasn't that bad because he's running this offense where you got to be mobile and you got to be able to get it to the guys who can make the plays for you. Obviously, it sucks with the injuries there, with Bateman and whatever, but that just even signs me up for more running attempts here. I'd be curious if they open up a carries line for him, because I'm sure it's going to be a little bit more than what we think it's going to be. But hopefully he gets him in field goal range. Let's Tucker kick about 4 50-yarders for me. Your boy needs some Tucker field goals this week. So maybe that's even better. Maybe he can just stall out in the red zone a few times and get me a couple field goals.
Sounds good. Sounds like a compromise.
Perfect. All right, guys. This is going to be actually my biggest play of the week so far. It's a 1.5 here for the show. I know you had a half unit one, so I thought, hey, we got to throw an extra half on this one. But man, I don't know how this one doesn't come through for your boy here. I'm going to Tom Brady completions, 24.5, facing off against this San Francisco defense. And I made the mistake last week to trust Tua on this one. right? We saw Tua miss it by like 3, but Tom Brady's going to throw the ball away where Tua's just going to chuck it, right? He's going to try to get it to Tyreek, all these guys. And also, let's just look at the average depth of target in these games. It is absolutely ridiculous, dude. It's like he's trying to put up Madden stats in the game, right? He's just like, hey, let's get those dump offs, get completions. The dude had 36 completions last week, 54 attempts. That's what I like about this play is if they're not running well, which they are the worst run blocking this week, 43% mismatch towards the San Francisco front, they've shown they will get rid of it. They will just scrap every single run play and turn it into dump offs. That's what they've been doing. I saw that Leonard Fournette is on the injury report. That would make it even more towards this passing stuff, right? It's all going to be those Rachaad White action on the dump offs, everything there. I don't know if he completely sits out. But we definitely could see it looking towards the game where we just had Rachaad White, right? That was the Cleveland game. He had 29 completions there. Rachaad White had 8 receptions on just dump offs the whole time, right? Obviously, Godwin is getting more healthy, which is awesome. That's helping him a ton. It's like 6 yards average depth of target. It's unreal for a receiver to get that number. But what I do like here is obviously the game script is going to be tough to run the ball. They're in San Francisco. And I just like how Byron Leftwich says, hey, this isn't working. Let's give it to our best guy and see what he can do. That's literally what he does. I would be surprised to see either one of those backs, if both of them are healthy, get more than 10 carries because all they're doing is just dumping it off. And that's a nice component to the run game here. And I think that's what their new running game is. It's just dump offs. That's all they've been doing. I absolutely love this spot. We talked a little bit about the 2-minute drill. How many completions is this guy doing in the 2-minute drill? It's like 7, right? Tyreek, Jalen Waddle, those guys are catching like 40-yard bombs, right? The 75-yarder, the 50-yarder. Tom Brady is not doing that. He is not throwing the ball down the field, and I don't think he'll have a chance to do that, right? 25% negative advantage in the pass blocking, 43% negative in the run blocking. This is going to be get Tom the ball, get out of his hand as quick as humanly possible, and we're probably getting 3 yards a pop on every single run. I don't know how they do anything else. It's going to have to be the Tom Brady show, and I just can't get away from this line.
Oh, this is a great spot. I love this bet. Actually, I don't really bet quarterback bets like this too much, but this might have to be a hammer, honestly, this week. I completely agree with everything you said. Even if they could run the ball, even if that was a thing, nobody runs the ball against San Francisco. Nobody. I said this. I think I've said this 2 weeks in a row now. No running backs, single running backs hit over 60 rushing yards against them so far this season. And honestly, I think Fournette in there is good. I mean, Fournette and White last week combined for what, 14 catches, 12 catches?
Yeah, they had 18 combined targets.
Yeah, insane.
That's
just
nuts.
Between the running backs. I mean, that's perfect, right? Because Fournette isn't even great on the ground so far this year. He really hasn't been at all. So check down Mons. I like, because for me, I was looking at the players. So I like Godwin receptions. I like when the tight end, Cade Auden, comes out. I like Fournette receptions again. But I agree. If I like 4 different guys' receptions, then maybe I should just bet, Tom Brady completions. Because like you said, he's doing like the Jared Goff from the end of last year offense, but instead of running at a slow pace and playing for nothing, they're actually trying to win. So like they're continuously doing it at a much better level. So I love this spot, man. It's a terrible matchup. The 49ers defense is so good, but that makes this prop even better. I think people get scared when they see the 49ers defense and they think of any offense. I just don't think it'll be very productive offense, right? I don't think he'll get those 40-yard bombs to Mike Evans. I think it'll be a lot of, Bosa's in my face. I need to check it down to either the tight end or the running back. So love this spot, 100%.
Yeah, no, the only reason this is probably isn't 2 to 2.5 is just because of Tua's dumb ass and screwing me last week. And now I still have it in the back of my mind. I know I shouldn't. I know it's a completely new matchup, everything there, but it's just it just sits there. And it's only a week ago too. So like maybe if it was like 2 or 3 weeks ago, I would have thrown a hammer on it. But I definitely will have this probably as my biggest spot of the week. Yes, John, we did mention I actually don't even mind if he's out, obviously, but I don't know what this offense is going to do. And I get it. It's a 37.5 point total. Taking a quarterback in a game with that total is kind of disgusting, but they got to do something, right? I mean, even if they go 3-and-out every single time, it's like, they got to do something with it. So I like that spot quite a bit. there. Let's take a look at some questions in here. Any one of the stuff that we see in the chat, any of one of them you want to go after first here?
I guess we can start St. Brown yards/receptions because I think we both mentioned that a little bit earlier in the show. My one concern I will lay out: Peterson has been very good in coverage this season. People like to say he's washed, but those are people that don't actually watch football. He was struggling for a couple of years there. He's having a very good season so far. I do think he will see it mostly in coverage, but Peterson doesn't chase people to the slot, and we know how much they love getting St. Brown involved in the slot. So I actually think he might see more time on DJ Chark on the outside, which just should open up even more opportunities. So I like St. Brown. I'm looking at yards right now that they definitely adjusted receptions, right? It's 7.5 now. You can't get that 6.5 anymore. So that's just my thoughts, but I like it.
Yeah, no, I think the yards is great. I think the receptions is great. I mean, what is the line on the 7.5? Is it minus or is it?
I think it's plus. I think you get like plus 100, plus 105, something around there.
Yeah, no, one crazy stat that I saw was when attempting passes to St. Brown, he's completing 96% of his passes there. I think it's over like the last 5 weeks or something.
Mm-hmm.
There's been 3 passes he's thrown his way that he hasn't caught. That's absurd, right? Obviously, I don't know how sustainable that is. Obviously, I hope it's sustainable. I hope he catches 100 because obviously I have him. But I think the yards is great. I mean, there's been so many chances where he's been close to touchdowns. He gets tackled at the 1. There's been so many where he gets grabbed by an ankle when that's an extra 20 yards, right? I get it. Doesn't have the greatest ADOT, but he's fantastic in open space. And I think obviously, like I said, 20-20, Minnesota Vikings are very gettable. They're very gettable. That's probably why he's not in my touchdown parlay, just because I'm a little bit more scared off of that. But I think both are very good plays, especially if you're getting plus money. It's hard to stay away from St. Brown now when he's this good. And he's showing it week in, week out that he's able to produce like this too. We'll head over to Joe B. MSA talking about Joe B. I have literally no take on this. I like attacking Cleveland on the ground a lot more. They're a lot more susceptible to it, especially when they have pass rushers like they do. We see a lot more teams try to beat him on the ground. I'm curious how Mixon is, if he's going to be healthy and playing. I know they came out and said that he is their guy when he's healthy. But I'm curious if they're going to just be a two-headed monster in the backfield and just run the ball if he comes back, or if it's going to be, hey, let's go back to our normal stuff. I have no take. 279 seems a little high for me personally, but if I had to lean away, I'd lean under. Do you have a thought here with a fully healthy receiving core?
Well, I think it's pretty funny. I have almost the same exact take that you do, honestly. I think it's very hard to get a read. I would agree, though. If Mixon is in, I think this team comes out with a much heavier run attack, right? That's what you want to do in this matchup against that Browns rushing attack. So, yeah, I kind of agree. It feels a little bit high to me, but they could just they've been throwing it real well recently, so they could just toss it around. But, yeah, it's kind of a strong no bet. I do want to turn it around, though, and ask you a question for 1 sec on the other side of the ball with Deshaun Watson. One of my first looks this week was under 1.5 passing touchdowns. It was minus 150, which was a little bit juiced, and I was looking for spots for it, but I couldn't really find anything, and it moved to like minus 180 now, so a little bit out of range. But I'm just curious in general. I'm kind of still feeling these Deshaun Watson unders, and it's not just in one category. I like the under passing touchdowns, but I also kind of like, I don't know, under rushing yards. It opened at 25 once again, and I don't know. I think we're relying maybe a little bit much on 2 years ago, but not even regular games 2 years ago, like playoff games 2 years ago. In the regular season, Deshaun Watson's not like Lamar Jackson. He's only really running to get out of the pocket because he had a terrible offensive line. So what do you think about his props this week?
Watson is weird to me, man. I mean, last week was weird, though. I think you're getting him at the lowest buy low of all time because his defense scored 3 touchdowns. Like, that's ever going to happen again, right? 3 defensive touchdowns. Didn't really need to pass it. Didn't look good when he did. But I don't know. I don't like taking Deshaun Watson rushing. I really don't. Even when he was throwing and doing all that stuff with Houston, I just like usually going for the yards because he does have a big arm, has the ability to make the big play. But I'm probably off of almost everything in this game. This game just feels like properly set. You ever have that where you just look at it, it's like, 5. I could see that. 46.5. Yeah, I don't see it going over. Don't see it going under. It's like right there. Like I could see a 24-21. I could see a 28-24, like right there, But I also could see it be like 14-10, just being a Nick Chubb show, right? That's why he is the thumbnail of the show, just because he is a boy. He's a dog for us. But I don't have any bets on this game. It's just there's just so many variables. This one just feels like there's so many different ways it could go. Like, right, we talked about that Lions game. Could you ever see that Lions game going 14-17?
No, I don't think so.
Like, there's no way. Maybe it's like 35-12 on 4 field goals because the Lions can't punch it in or something. But that Vikings team is going to run. They're going to score, right? It's just like this game. There's so much talent, both sides. It's division, right? It's tough, right? I mean, this one just kind of screams like stay away for me personally. That's just my take on it.
No, that's very fair. I was just curious because I like betting on these new teams, right? For me personally, you can see with Huntley, like these new quarterbacks, how they affect teams. I like trying to get in and make my guess on what happens before the books, but it's really hard to tell who Deshaun Watson's favorite target is. It looked like it was the ground last week, right? It looked like he was, I mean, even some of these catches were guys picking it up off the ground. So I don't know what's going on there, but if he can, maybe hit people's legs instead of their feet, that would be at least an improvement in week 2.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree for sure. It was an ugly performance. I played Cleveland's defense last week, which was awesome. Did win, which I was surprised that happened, but hey, we moved it on. This is a guy I know you've bet on prior. I don't know, you saw that sour taste in your mouth from that one, or you moving on here?
Yeah, it's tough. I got beat on it last week, but that was a disgusting game last week. I mean, the Vikings almost pulled the Raiders. I think that was essentially the same thing, just not as many people watched it. The Vikings, had no time of possession in the second half. Like, they were so comfortable with their lead. They were just like, yeah, whatever. These guys can do whatever they want. And they almost lost because of it. So now that they should actually be reasonably trying in the game for most of the game, I do want to go back to Hawkinson. I do wish we got a better price, though. It was minus 130 last week, minus 120. You'd think if he missed it, only 3 catches, we might get a plus 100 maybe, but it's a revenge game. Everyone loves betting on that kind of stuff. So I like it more just because I think he's a good check down option for the team and has been very involved. Not so much that it's a revenge game, but
So if you had to take a lean, would it be more on the reception side versus the yard side then?
Yeah. No, the ADOT's down. Like I talked about last week in the show, the ADOT's been down. He's kind of been underperforming his targets when he's been getting them. So I think it's a lot of checkdowns. That's kind of the role he's been playing so far.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. All right, last one here I'm seeing before we get to our touchdown parlay. Another game. MSA is bringing us to another game here. Let's kind of talk about this one. This one's an ugly game. Russ is sitting at 219, Mahomes at 300. My boy, Mr. Dulcich, is getting that start again. It's going to hurt me if he screws me over again. But how can I put money on Russell Wilson at this point? I mean, it's hard for me to put anything on it unless it's an under.
Yeah, this is just like the Broncos. We shouldn't have to watch the Broncos. That's not fair to us as fans. Like, this team has put such a disgusting performance forth this season, right? And like you said, Russell Wilson is just hard to watch right now. So for me, there's probably going to be no bets. I don't think I've had many bets on the Broncos maybe the last 5 or 6 weeks. I think I learned my lessons, even with Dulcich, who we both like a lot. This is a guy that is a great athlete, right? He has a lot of potential, but when you look at his ADOT, his underlying stats, he's running these downfield routes, which would be normally really high value for a tight end, but they'd be high value in a Patrick Mahomes offense. If Dulcich was on that team running with a 14-yard ADOT, that could put up some crazy numbers. So because he's running in this ultra conservative, designed by a 14-year-old, actually, no, not 14-year-old. It was designed by a 94-year-old, right? That's watching film from like the good old days in the 80s when we played real football. Like, this is a disgusting offense. So there will be no Russell Wilson. The only guy, I kind of like the Hinton guy a little bit, the Kendall Hinton guy, but I don't know. It's just scrap the Broncos from the league. I'm probably not going to bet on this game. I don't know about you, but
only guy I'm looking at is Dulcich for some yards. I think it's still sitting in the 30s, especially if Sutton's out. If Sutton is out, dude, I just think that they're going to have to pepper him. I don't think there's really any other options. Judy's going to get the number one. Obviously, he looked good last week, so I think that helps out to kind of get the stuff away from him. But can't touch Latavius Murray. He runs the same play every single time, run the ball right side. fall after 3 yards and get back up and do it again. And then they're bringing in 97-year-old Marlon Mack with a new Achilles. And then you have Russell Wilson, who's just been absolute trash, and it looks awful. So only guy I can bet on is that young guy, the actual guy who has talent on this roster. And it's tough because this Denver defense is good. Like, it's good. and it sucks because of just how bad that offense is, but it's a good defense. I do think they're going to have trouble with Kelsey, but their corners, obviously, I love backing Mr. Surtain. He's fantastic. I just think you could see doubles on him too. So it's like there's very much a division rival type of game script here that we could just see punching back and forth and just be in that 20-17 game.
Yeah, the thing about the Chiefs too, they're a team when they play opponents that they don't bring their A game to every game. We've seen this over the last 2 to 3 years. The Chiefs, I think like your like little league coach would hate this, that tells you you gotta treat every game the same. The Chiefs really don't. And you can tell them their game plan, you can tell them their red zone creativity, especially they're not pulling out the big plays. They're not pulling out the trick plays. They're not giving away their playbook in this game against the Broncos. So I do think it could get, if the Chiefs don't come out with their A game, I think you're right. It could be a real boring kind of close game, but I don't know. Probably just a pass for the most part for me.
For sure. Now let's get to our recap here for you guys. All the people just tuning in. Appreciate you guys tuning in with us. Still about 20 of you guys lasting through 45 minutes with us. We always appreciate you guys staying with us here. So let's go through a quick recap, and we'll get to our touchdown parlay.
Yep, I'm going Tyler Huntley over 41.5 rushing yards, minus 115. Then we're going over Daniel Bellinger over 2.5 receptions, plus 110 over on MGM right now, minus 130 on Caesars. So a lot of value there.
Heading to my boy Delvin Cook over 94.5 rushing and receiving yards, 92.5 on Bet Rivers. If you guys do have that book available to you, and my biggest player of the week is going to be Tom Brady over 24.5 completions at 1.5 units. All right, two guys we talked about already. Let's get it down here. We have a half unit spot for you guys. Had to put the half unit on there because we don't want to trust Terrence throwing hammers on our long shots here. So we'll get it out there. 500 plus 500 on two guys we talked about already.
Yeah, I'll start with Huntley. I have to say, he's probably my second favorite. I think Zeke's my favorite. I want to throw that out to all the Pollard lovers in here. I do like Zeke as my favorite touchdown guy this week, but the odds aren't as sexy right there. I think Huntley at over plus 200 does give us a lot better value just because I do think, I talked about this before, they're going to continue to run the Lamar Jackson offense. And the Lamar Jackson offense involves Lamar Jackson carrying the ball plenty in the red zone, right? I already spoke about Gus Edwards, Kenyon Drake. I think these guys are going to have a very hard time against that very strong middle of that Steelers defense, right? I think the traditional run game is going to be much tougher. So for me, it really comes down to two guys I think are going to score touchdowns, Huntley and Andrews. Getting the ball to Andrews is a little bit tougher. Sometimes that Oliver guy comes steals a touchdown from me, which, makes me very angry. I do think Huntley's the safer bet right here. And I think getting it over plus 200 is good value.
Yeah, and I'm going to Delvin Cook, 5 touchdowns over the last 8 weeks, right? Lions are averaging 1 touchdown allowed to a running back in every single game this year. They've been really poor in the red zone too. So it's just going to be pick your poison. Which one of these Vikings you think is going to score? Obviously, we talked about Madison vulturing there, but Madison still only had 6 touches in that game. So he made the most of it, 12-yard touchdown. But Delvin Cook's been the guy on the goal line. They've been giving him the ball. He had the short touchdown run last week on the goal line, which was very encouraging. And again, we talked about the front seven being very mismatched this week against this Viking side, 32% run block advantage. So sign me up for Delvin Cook, minus 140 on its own, which I don't like. But obviously, Stu had to carry us here and get that up to plus 500.
Yeah, no, and I mean, in a game, what are they going to score? 31 at the minimum points, right, against the Lions. All of them, even Madison can get a touchdown at some point in that game. But Cook's getting in there one way or another for sure.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So got everything in here. I don't think we've seen any other questions. So, yeah, I think that's everything on the slate for today. Stu, what do you got for him? 50 minutes. We're right on schedule, getting everything in and out of here real quick.
Yeah, no, nice show today. A lot of good picks. I'm definitely going to be tailing your Tom Brady, maybe even doing some kind of parlay with that, something like that. But I love that spot. I love everything we gave today. I know both of us will have plenty of stuff for the rest of the week as well, right? It's only Friday. These games obviously are on Sunday. We've got plenty of time to get more bets out, more articles. So you can find all of that stuff over on Twitter. You can also find over on Pikkit Sports as well. If you use code PTP, you get between $3 and $100 when you sign up. You get more stuff from us. It's a free app, bet tracker, all that kind of stuff. So you're going to check us out there. I still haven't found a spread pick yet. I want to do this every week. I'm 1-1 so far. I need to lock in. I need to find something. Maybe you guys can give me some advice in the comments, because we're obviously going to be answering all questions there as well. We know not everyone can make it live at 1 o'clock. It's a work day. It's a Friday. People got lives. Luckily, this will be up, Friday, Saturday, Sunday before the game starts. So if you have any more questions, make sure to drop them down there and tell me who I should be betting on for my spread pick of the week, because I don't know. I don't want to be in the Vikings trap. I think the Vikings are going to win. I don't want to be in the Vikings trap. So I got to look elsewhere, got to find a good spot, and I'm all ears right now.
Yeah, for sure. And we appreciate all you guys that tune in. This is the number so far this year. Hopefully we can continue to add on, get back to that double-digit spot that we were in prior. We're going to get back to another pop-off week. Again, we appreciate every single one of you guys tuning in. We will always be answering those questions. If you're not able to make it, like Stu said, drop them in the bottom of the comment section. And, yeah, I can't help you with the spreads, bro. I do those. My spread record is – not hot unless I'm going with like some teasers or something. And who wants to bet on teasers? We want to bet some plus money stuff. So if you guys do have those, make sure you drop them there. That would be awesome. And hopefully we can come back and get you guys 4 winners for Monday's show. So thank you guys for tuning in. We appreciate you. And hopefully we'll be coming back on Monday talking about some winners we gave you. So have a good one. Best of luck this weekend. And let's crush it.